for a better life. Lots of stuff to get into today. Would make no mistake about it. Little NFL stuff to talk about involving Jalen Ramsey. Lots of NFL stuff to talk about. I'm sorry, lots of NBA stuff to talk about regarding free agency, particularly involving Jimmy Butler of the Philadelphia 76ers, CP3, Kemba Walker, Kyrie Irving, etc. But the first order of business is news that came down within the last hour and a half. And that is this: Kevin Durant, the all-world player for the Golden State Warriors, a two-time NBA champion, a two-time NBA Finals MVP, Kevin Durant with a player option on $31.5 million for an upcoming season that he likely will not participate in, courtesy of an Achilles tear suffered in Game 5 of the NBA Finals against the Toronto Raptors. That same Kevin Durant has declined the $31.5 million option, making him an unrestricted free agent as of 6 p.m. this Sunday evening. And as a result, Kevin Durant has several options available to him. Number one, he can re-up with the Golden State Warriors, who are in position to offer him a 5-year Supermax contract extension for approximately $221 million. That's option number one. Option number two, he can decide to go elsewhere for a 4-year deal that obviously will be for considerably less dollars. New York Knicks, Brooklyn Nets, considered to be the two teams on his radar. Kevin Durant will make his decision whenever the hell he wants, and then we'll know where he's going. And once upon a time, even somebody like me was reporting, because I was told there was a 95% chance this man and him and Kyrie were going to the New York Knicks, because Kyrie was going to go wherever Kevin Durant went because they're boys and they wanted to play together, and Kevin Durant had his eyes on MSG. But then after that, you're hearing that Kyrie and Brooklyn have fallen in love with one another, that Kyrie was going out of his way to convince KD to come to Brooklyn with him. Kyrie had flown out to the West Coast before KD got injured. Since KD got injured and he was in New York, Kyrie Irving has come to New York to see him there. Kyrie is from New Jersey, in case y'all forgot. And the presumption is at least one of them are going to be in Brooklyn, possibly both. And if that happens, the New York Knicks end up getting screwed. Now, here's what makes it worse. Because my producer, Jonathan Winthrop, I'm not sure he saw this. Problems at home, irritating his wife to death. I won't tell his personal business, but, you know, he's irritating his wife and getting on her bad side. And so he's not entirely focused on the job at hand because he's crazy. You understand? He just nudges away at his beautiful, wonderful wife, who deserves so much better than what he does sometimes. I just got to tell you. I just got to say it. But I digress. Mrs. Winthrop, somebody here loves you. I'm not sure it's John, but somebody here loves you. Anyway, I digress. I'm only playing. Of course he loves you. Here's the deal. Just as recently as a couple of hours ago, I got it on very reliable sources that James Dolan had expressed some reticence about signing KD, or offering KD, rather, a max extension. I mean, it is unbelievable to me that I'm hearing this, but it's the truth because I got it confirmed. KD, Kevin Durant, there's actually some reluctance on the part of the New York Knicks, and I shouldn't say it that way. Here's what I would tell you. James Dolan wants I's dotted and T's crossed as it pertains to the medical situation involving KD. According to my sources, there's some reticence in offering KD a max extension. because Dolan doesn't want an injured player. His staff, Steve Mills, Scott Perry, led by those two, but obviously not limited to them, are doing their homework, dotting I's, crossing T's, making sure that all the requisite stuff is going on. They're in pursuit of a complete medical report on Kevin Durant before the max dollars are offered because Dolan doesn't want to find himself handicapped. Here's my concern. What if Kevin Durant sits up there and says, all right, man, here's the medical report. Now kiss my you-know-what. Who the hell are you as a New York Knick, meaning Dolan? Who the hell are you to be worried about me on one leg in a hospital bed? I'm still better than anybody you've got on the squad. I could come back at 50% and still be the star of this franchise. I could come back at 70 or 75% and still be the greatest player in the history of this franchise. And that includes Earl of Pearl, Monroe, Roy Clark, Frazier, Patrick Ewing, Allen Houston, Larry Johnson, Carmelo Anthony, Stephon Marbury, all of them. Who the hell are you? What if KD has that kind of mentality? What if KD is annoyed by this insatiable appetite for Dolan to be walking around telling his friends, particularly in Hollywood, how he's a bit reticent about offering KD max dollars before he gets a complete hold of the medical report? What if you're KD? Could you imagine what that's like? Who the hell is this guy to have any reticence whatsoever about bringing me on board? I mean, these are the kind of things that you got to worry about with KD. You're the New York Knicks. You can offer 4 years, $164 million. You're the Golden State Warriors. You can offer 5 years, $221 million. But KD has options. Brooklyn being one of them. And if you're KD, you don't need to deal with this nonsense. So these are the kind of things that you've got to be concerned about. And if you're the New York Knicks, although it's perfectly within your right to want to see the medical report, and it's good business and it's cautious, the fact of the matter is, James Dolan should have kept his mouth shut. He should have been underground well enough to know. So nobody else will find out about it. Because guess what? It's one thing if you hear that Steve Mills and Scott Perry are dotting their I's and crossing their T's. It's another thing entirely if you hear that James Dolan has stuck his nose into the equation because nobody trusts him. And that's what the reality of the situation is. Now, let me be very, very clear about my feelings about James Dolan because I'm tired of it being misconstrued. I remember I was at a fight. Top Rank had a fight at the Garden involving Lomachenko at the theater inside Madison Square Garden, and James Dolan sat here with his arms folded, looking like a little pot, looking just so petulant, looking like he was all pouty and everything. I need to make something very, very clear, and I hope James Dolan is listening. I do not dislike this man. I don't have anything against James Dolan. I'll go down the list. I'll do something. Are you ready for this, John? Don't collapse, John. Don't collapse. Are you ready for this? I'm about to come to the defense of James Dolan. You don't hear anybody coming to the defense of James Dolan. Allow me to be the first. James Dolan, yes, he's been accused of being born on third base thinking he hit a triple. Born with the proverbial silver spoon in his mouth and all of that other nonsense. All of these things have been said about James Dolan. Let me be the first to come to his defense in this regard. Yes, he's got deep pockets. Yes, he's never hesitated to spend. Yes, as an African American, I've watched him put African Americans in prominent positions. I watched Isaiah Thomas get his shot. I see Steve Mills has been kept around. I've seen Scott Perry being brought on board. I see David Fizdale as the coach. There are a plethora of individuals, players and beyond, who he takes tremendous care of. Former players, present players, etc. Charles Oakley's situation, fiasco notwithstanding. James Dolan is considered an individual that does a lot of good and is not given enough credit for it. So there, I said it. Here's the problem. He can be petulant and petty, and he's usually public when he does it. Doesn't have the decency to disguise it in any way. Charles Oakley's causing a problem, you have him physically removed. A fan asks you to sell a team, you have him physically banned from the Garden. You got a problem with the New York Daily News, you're banning them from press conferences and draft parties and all of this other stuff. Incurring $50,000 fines from the league office, knowing it's a violation. Knowing that free agency is about to be here. What the hell are you doing? You're a free agent. And you're being all truculent and acerbic and causing these kind of unnecessary headlines. On the eve of free agency, you are compromising your own franchise. Why? Why is that necessary? See, a lot of times, we got a guy like a Barry Watkins who, for many, many years, was James Dolan's right-hand man with the media. For all I know, probably still is. Jonathan Sopranowicz once worked for the New York Daily News. Once worked for the New York Knicks, and his reputation wasn't the greatest in the world or whatever. But we don't know whether that was him or that was the Knicks. In all likelihood, it was the Knicks forcing his hand. He's an employee of the franchise. And now they're going, and it's still the same old issues. Why? It's got to be Dolan. That's the belief. Got to be Dolan. And all I'm saying is, if that's the case, if that's your reality, if that's what the hell is going on, how do you think that's going to fly come free agency? Sunday night at 6 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm scared to death. I don't root against the Brooklyn Nets. They're a New York team. I'm a native New Yorker. Personally speaking, I'm very fond of the job that Sean Marks and Kenny Atkinson have done. This new dude from China who's about to take over a majority stake in ownership in about a year and a half or so, who already owns nearly 50% of the franchise, a little bit less than Prokhorov and those boys, before it's going to be sold to him. It's got deep pockets. Brooklyn's going to be relevant. Brooklyn is special. The Barclays Center's no joke. We get all of that. But Madison Square Garden, Midtown Manhattan, when are you going to get a basketball franchise that's relevant for us? When are we going to walk past Madison Square Garden in Midtown Manhattan and not have this stench invading our nostrils? When is that going to happen? R.J. Barrett ain't going to fill that void. Not yet. Dennis Smith Jr., Kevin Knox, not yet. And by the way, if it's New York, if it's Madison Square Garden, you need a star. When we going to get one? See, give the credit. We talked about the Lakers, and obviously that fiasco, making them look as dysfunctional as ever. Ladies and gentlemen, one move, they're title contenders. As far as I'm concerned, they're my favorites to win the title. They don't even have a team yet. You got LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the same team. I ain't worried about you. My only concern about those two are you going to be healthy come playoff time. That's it. I ain't worried about a damn thing else involving LeBron James and Anthony Davis. If they're healthy, they're going to be one of the top 4 teams in the NBA. They're going to be in the conference finals. I'm here to tell you that right now. You can book it. Ain't nothing to worry about. One move. And not just in terms of players and a squad that you built. They get stars. They get box office people. It's Hollywood. It's Tinseltown, y'all. And the Lakers, led by Jeannie Buss, in fairness to her, who hasn't made the playoffs as an executive since her daddy passed away in 2013. God rest his soul. But the bottom line is, when pressed against it, after Magic Johnson came publicly and called everybody out, and begged her to be more decisive, implored her to be more decisive. That's exactly what Jeannie Buss turned around and did. She was decisive and pulled the trigger. Brandon Ingram, take him. Lonzo Ball, take him. Number 4 overall pick, take him. Josh Hart, take him. 2 additional first-round picks, take him. Just leave us Kyle Kuzma. I don't think it was bad at all. They made the move. Rob Pelinka, a novice, as a GM who was never a GM until 2 years ago. Before that, he was an agent. Suddenly, he's in the catbird seat. A good move. They're contending. We can't denigrate him. He's doing it now. He's doing it. So when we look at things from that perspective, from that standpoint, let's call it what it is. Let's understand what's going on. The Lakers are a star-studded franchise with stars filling their seats, arriving at the Staples Center with expectations. And the Lakers answered the call. They had Kobe. They lose Kobe, they go and get LeBron. They get LeBron. They still falter because of his injury. They add Anthony Davis. Yeah, you might have missed the playoffs, but you had a star every year that you were there. Somebody that people walk through the turnstiles to see. Who have the Knicks had? The best the New York Knicks could do for us in the last 20 years was Carmelo Anthony, who never played in an NBA Finals in his entire career. And I love Melo. I'm just giving you facts. No judgment. This is what we're dealing with. And so now you got over 70+ million in cap space because you traded Kristaps Porzingis, who wanted out, demanded out. Otherwise, he was going to hold the franchise hostage, particularly around free agency time. You trade him. He's about to get a max offer from the Dallas Mavericks Sunday night on a 5-year deal so he can team up with Luka Doncic for years to come. What do the Knicks have? You got 70+ million in cap space. And not a single damn person, if you don't get KD, is talking about coming to play for you. I mean, this is a disaster. I don't care what anybody says. You don't get KD and or Kyrie, why would Kemba Walker come? And if Kemba Walker don't come, who you got? Klay Thompson ain't leaving. Golden State's going to offer him, I promise you, by 6:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday night, because the deadline, the free agency opens up 6 p.m. on Sunday. I'll take it back. By 6 p.m., and I say at the most 10 seconds in, 6 p.m. and 10 seconds Eastern Standard Time, the Golden State Warriors are going to be at the door of Klay Thompson, offering him the 5-year max deal at $191 million. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you something right now. Klay Thompson will still be underpaid. It's the most he could get because some idiots out there didn't even find it within themselves to make him at least an all-NBA third-team player, even though one could have argued he should have been a second-team player, even though he's universally recognized as one of the greatest shooters we've ever seen in our lives, who's got the heart of a lion, is a champion personified, a 3-time champion, who shows up in big moments and answers the call all the damn time. That Klay Thompson doesn't make an all-NBA team. You cost this man $30 million. I'm telling you right now, I don't even know why Klay Thompson speaks to the media. Because the media has something to do with this, because we decide who's going to be on those all-NBA teams. If I was Klay Thompson, I would tell the media to kiss my you-know-what the rest of my career. The media cost Klay Thompson $30 million. I'm almost at the point right now, I think the only people that Klay Thompson should speak to in the United States of American media is me and his daddy, Michael Thompson, our colleague at 710 ESPN in L.A. Other than us two, I don't know if anybody, I'm not saying that I apologize, John. I apologize to anybody out there who have expressed what I've expressed, and I simply didn't hear you. But the two people I know who would vouch for him is his daddy and me. Let me ask you a question, John, my producer. You heard a bigger fan of Klay Thompson than me? Anybody in America. This man is one of the greatest shooters we have ever seen. You know good and damn well that if you don't make him an all-NBA selection, you costed him possibly $30 million. And you give your vote to Kemba Walker? Kyrie Irving? We ain't talking about their talent because we know that those boys are big time. I'm just talking about this season that they had, this season that their teams had. You're trying to tell me you don't even have Klay Thompson as an all-third-team NBA player? Klay Thompson, arguably one of the top 2 shooters in the history of basketball. That Klay Thompson, you don't have him on your all-NBA team, not even third team. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. Blasphemy, pox on all your damn houses. Golden State Warriors going to be smart because they breathed a sigh of relief because somehow, some way, this stupid, idiotic CBA rule that allows the media to play a role in the money that Klay Thompson makes limited his earning power from $221 million to $195 million. You damn right the Golden State Warriors better pay him. I don't give a damn about his ACL tear. Give him his money. He deserves every penny. And then some. Throwing a massage therapist, a masseuse, car service, and everything else, too, because he's a champion. And my God, does he play like one. Game 4, one leg, 28 points. Game 6, in the third quarter, he had 30. There would have been a Game 7 had he not gone down. Klay Thompson is that legit. He's that big time. Give him his damn money. And the Golden State Warriors will do just that. I assure you, before the clock hits 6:01 p.m. Eastern Time, the Golden State Warriors will have been at Klay Thompson's doorstep, offering him the 5-year max at $191 million. He will take it. He ain't going anywhere unless somebody gets stupid and decides not to offer him that. Then he might end up a Clipper or something, for all we know. Lots of stuff to talk about, lots of stuff to get into, and I'm right here to do just that. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.